Welcome back to Super Tuesday Recap, and these are your hosts, Chris and Deepam here, and we are here to review Season 5, Episode 5 of The Flash, all dolled up. I'm not even going to read the synopsis, we'll just jump right into this episode. We talked about this, because Flash was off last week.
Right.
And we were like, hey, it looks like they're doing kind of like a Halloween episode because they're doing Ragdoll, and he's kind of creepy. I'm actually surprised it really wasn't, they didn't do that. They didn't really go the Halloween, which I'm glad for because it would have been like 2 weeks too late. Although Ragdoll was definitely fucking creepy in this episode. We'll get into that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that you can look at some of the music choices chosen and like the way he's depicted as creepy and kind of the jump scare with Barry. There's a lot of Halloweenish stuff, but you're right. They didn't lean. It wasn't like jack-o'-lanterns and shit.
Right, which I appreciate. And it's like if you're not gonna do the episode on Halloween, don't. Like I said, it just drives me fucking crazy. But I don't know, man. It's weird. We've been talking about this, and I know somebody wrote in, I think last week wrote us an email about this, that some whoever's over there on this Arrowverse shows have really like studied Agents of Shield for how they're doing things, because we really are getting this thing where everybody's kind of separated into their own little. They're all going to we all know they're all going to interconnect, but we literally had it where once again we had Wells, Cisco, Ralph, and Caitlin off doing their own thing, with Barry, Iris, and Nora having to do with their own thing. Well, actually, technically, Nora and Cecile were with themselves. Like everybody was in their own own little areas, and they came back together. And I think again, you can't do this with every cast. But like this cast works well, and they're strong enough actors that it pays off. And each of those stories is interesting and pays off, And I really enjoy how they're doing that, and it makes it seem like everybody doesn't have to be related to the same main story, and it makes it interesting to me. I don't know.
No, you're right. I like the structure of what they're doing. I think it's even more pronounced on some of the other sister shows like Arrow. But Flash, I love this cast. I love the chemistry. And you're right, the different pairings make it interesting. And we can start with kind of the most low-key pairing, which was Cecile and Nora, where Cecile, where Joe West is clearly taking some time away, and Cecile has stepped up and abdicated the role as Black wisdom giver. Because Joe West Black Fatherhood exit stage right, enter stage left, Cecile West Black Motherhood.
Listen, this is a West household. We're not going to talk bad about any of the West here.
So the first thing we're not going to do.
Well, you know what's so funny about this, and what's so great is it shows you just in the dynamic on the show that once you're a member of the West family, you are a member of the West family. Like Cecile and Joe, like they're having a kid. Like, they're not even married, are they?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point.
I don't think they're even married, but she's like, "Yo, we're having this kid. Like, no, this is happening. Like, this is a West household. She's in the family at this point."
I think after a certain age, if you move in together and you have a kid, it's just like a common law thing. Yeah, like, that might be some central cities. Because this is not the weirdest marriage or non-marriage in the show. Because I have to remind everyone that Barry is Iris's brother. Like, no one mentions this, and I say this every week, and no one ever makes a comment on the things that I say about this, because you all know I'm right. It's fucking creepy.
It's something we don't talk about, but
we just don't mention it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Go ahead.
No, but you're absolutely right. It's she stepped up here, and having that moment when you kind of did need somebody else to kind of explain to Nora. It's like, hey, listen, you need to slow your roll here, like. Your mother's actually kind of awesome, and maybe you should get to know your mother in this time period. And I guess that's the theme for both her and Iris was deal with it now. You guys are so, and the thing I like about it is it's taking a different spin on and it's doing the exact opposite of what we saw Barry do in that Sabotage season 3, which is what he was always trying to rush towards. Everything he did in the present was to try to avoid what his future was going to be. And we found that just didn't work, and so he wasn't living in the moment. And here you're basically on both sides, like, listen, you guys are here now. Forget what you think is going to happen in the future. We already know the times are changing. deal with what you know now. Let's maybe if you get a good, mother daughter bond here, maybe you'll change it. Maybe it won't. But listen, you're here now. Let's deal with it now. And the way Cecile did that, because I'm not gonna lie, halfway through when Cecile was telling all these stories, I was like, first one, I was like, she's making that shit up. Like the first one, I was like, you're making that shit up. But then I was like, she tells the last one, I'm like, wait a minute, Cecile, how do you know all this stuff about Barry? You knew here. Like, you knew. How do you know?
Okay, that's true. But she knows it the same way she knows it about Iris, because those are Joe's kids. Because they're brother and sister.
I wasn't trying to bring the brother sister.
You asked the question, I answered it.
No, but you're right. But like when it kind of killed two birds with one stone. One was like, how does Cecile know all this stuff anyways? And then she was like, oh, it's Iris. I'm like, okay, cool. Then you're like, same thing. It's like, well, how do you know this about Iris? Well, then, like you said, it's Joe West. Of course, he meticulously documented his daughter and his kids' lives. Of course, he did, because that's Papa Joe, right? Papa Joe would do that kind of thing. And having, Cecile kind of bond with Nora, because if you think about it, both Cecile and Nora are the two. I'm not gonna lie, it's also kind of weird that we have two Noras on two different shows that were on the same night. So.
Look, man, it's the new Dinah. It's a very NCW name,
right? Right, it really is. But if you think about it, these are the two that are kind of new to the family. Like Cecile got taken in last season, with the family because she was dating, Joe, and they're having a kid and everything like that. But Nora, even though she is Barry and Iris's daughter, obviously things between her and her mother aren't, great in her time period, and Barry's not there. And so, and she does, we don't know where the rest of the team is and the family is. So she's also new to this dynamic as well. So you have basically the new member of the West family and Cecile kind of showing Nora, like, this is what you need to know about being in this family. She got to think about it. She's never been in this family. It's when we get into Legend tomorrow, we'll talk about this. When we had Ava and she didn't know how to be a child because she didn't have a childhood. Well, here, Nora doesn't know how to be a West because she's never really been a West. She's, she got born, she was born, and when she was born, buried, her father's gone, and Iris is clearly, in the time period they're in, is clearly going through some shit where Iris puts a inhibitor chip in her. So, I really found that interesting. And I think it was a good vehicle to have, Cecile be the one to kind of, break this down with Nora and introduce her to that. I thought that was great.
It was good because you're right. It was a juxtaposition to say who Cecile was last season. She's the new person. She needs to learn the ropes of the West family, and her version of the West family is very different than our version.
Absolutely.
But I like that, even though like nominally it is, as the show went on, as the show kind of showed us and Nora, it's really not that different. Like, it may manifest differently in the future because it's more protective as a parent, but everything Iris does is motivated by the love of her family.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I think these things are related. Let's get into this. I mean, Iris, look, I'm going to tell you right now. You can say find you somebody who loves you like Iris loves Barry and jumping off the goddamn building, but I don't know, dog.
No, that's the wrong kind of love, yo. Because like, love is good, but love can make you crazy.
Yo, she jumped off,
and she seems to have passed the crazy Rubicon.
She jumped off head first, yo, head first, like
no regard.
like
at first I was like, have the fucking key. I was just like, they make it super clear that she had the key. I was a little nervous.
Yeah, right. I didn't know what she was doing. I was like, wait, why is Iris jumping off the building? What are you going to do? And I'm like, oh, she has a key. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of smart, but still, oh, you fucking crazy. Mm-hmm. You fucking crazy. And I love, you know what? Nora's reaction, perfect reaction too. Mom, did you just jump off the building and save Dad? You're crazy. What is this? What are you doing? Yeah, no.
It's like the moment you find out, like, oh, adults can be cool too. What the hell?
Right.
Like, I was home from college one time and I saw my old English teacher in a liquor store and I was like, this is all very strange.
Right. But in all seriousness, what I really loved about what they did with Iris this episode is they tie back to Iris. Obviously she's feeling some kind of way about Nora, not. If if you had your child from the future come and meet you, and they're basically like they kind of blow you off, you're gonna feel some kind of way, right?
Mhm.
Um, but you could tell that was kind of affecting Iris a little bit more than just that initial level there. And when they kind of get into it, it's basically, and she brings up Francine, I was like, oh shit. This is what happens when you have 5 seasons of a show. I forgot about that. I forgot about the whole thing with her mother, and that, by the time she decided she was going to finally talk to her mother, it was too late. And
Mhm.
when you remember that from, I think it was like season 2. So you remember that from season 2, and then you bring in this dynamic where she has her, her daughter, and she finds herself on the opposite side where she has a daughter who doesn't want to talk to her, doesn't want to deal with her, and she's definitely afraid of she's become her mother. Like, it brings a whole new dynamic to how she's feeling. And I love the callbacks. I love, like, this is something that we were talking about last season that we kind of felt they dropped the ball on, doing the callbacks to the previous seasons. Doing something like this, oh, that's beautiful. And it brings, it's the same thing that they just did on Arrow, right? Well, not the current episode, but the one before we reviewed, where they were talking about when the psychiatrist was bringing up the fact that, yo, Oliver, your whole mission is based off of a burden your father put on you, which he shouldn't have done. And that goes all the way back to season 1 for that show. So these episodes coming back and tying back into their earlier seasons, I think it's done, and the way they're doing it, I think is doing a really great job. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, man. I this show. Everyone who got out last year, I get it. If you're back, you're back. If you're not, don't ask.
Yeah,
It's too good.
yeah, no. Again, I understand the hesitation, but the way they're doing things, and another thing too is the fact that they're not dragging it out. Like, again, so we, I know it's hard to, it's easy to forget because, like, we literally, we had a break, but we kind of just got the, reason why Nora was upset at Iris. We just got that.
Mhm.
This week we pretty much had it. We have it resolved. Like, again, we're 5 episodes in. We are not. Going back to what we were saying about him, this kind of taking the cues from Agent of Shield. Agent of Shield used to do this all the time. We would sit there and go, "Wait, we just found out about that, and they've resolved the next episode." Like, we have 22 episodes. What do you guys do? You guys are blazing through all this stuff. We're not wasting any time. And I think that when you have a long season, the way to make it not feel long is when you blaze through story. I don't want to say you're rushing storylines, because you're not. You're getting them to their logical conclusions, but you're not unnecessarily stretching them out. And
Yeah.
I think we didn't, because we were picking up the if you watched her Nora's interactions with the team last year when she would just pop up, you could tell there were issues with her and Iris. So we don't need to go 20 episodes into this season to see that, to have that. And it's I don't know, it's a fresh take, especially from we've had the previous seasons when they kind of stretch things out. And I think it's just been good for the pacing of the entire show.
100%. I think something else that's really helped the pacing is that while the interpersonal and like the relationship stories have progressed quickly, we haven't seen Cicada in a while,
Oh yeah,
and I
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, but and we'll get into this when we get into the other half of the other members of the team. But you are getting the effects of him, like the whole thing with Cisco.
You're getting kind of what made him as well. Yeah, you're getting similar metas, but none of it's tied into like a larger. Like, it's not each season, each episode doesn't end with him as a stinger stabbing a meta.
Exactly, but you feel his presence with something we hadn't always felt, so that's great. I want to also go back to the whole Barry and Iris thing. You got again, you got to give credit to them for how they're writing Barry this season and the way he supports his wife and knows when to get out of the way. So him trying to do the date night, him trying to take her mind off of Nora, him telling her, hey, listen, you can't basically live in the now. You can't sit, and showing is what you brought up last season. This, right, that you were really looking forward to seeing mentor Barry, seeing Barry who was confident in being a hero. in terms of Flash, but then that's also kind of trickled down into him being just, a husband and a man in general. Like this is Barry kind of taking the lessons he's learned himself. Like these are things that we've seen Iris tell him or other people have told him, and he's now taking those lessons as he's learned in those previous seasons, and he's applying them to other people. It's kind of, we've also seen the same thing that Oliver's doing this last season in Arrow, and it's great because it shows you it allows other just writing wise in the show, it allows other characters to have a it allows other characters to kind of not make the same mistakes he's making, but go through them and have support that maybe he didn't have at that time because he was keeping it in. And so I think it's also helping with the pacing of the episodes to allow them to go a little bit faster. Like, and then you get moments like at the end where when Iris and Nora are having the are going over the little scrapbook, and Bear's outside, and he doesn't come in and insert himself into that. He just smiles and go off about his business because he's like, he doesn't need to be right there at that moment. So I don't know. I think that what they're doing with Barry is a really great job. So.
No, I'm right with you. This is the Barry, like last season, we're like, this is the outlet I wanted. This is the Barry. It feels like a finished Barry product. It's him being like, I look good in the top. Like it's him trying to have fun during a mission. He's like, right. Someone's stealing shit. Like they're not throwing satellites at us. Like let's at least smile. Some. Can we dance? Like come on, let's dance.
Right.
Like I like that I like that it doesn't feel weighty, man. Like it feels like this felt like a season 1 episode because it's not the end of the goddamn world. It's this meta, which we'll talk about Peter Merkel in a second. This meta is robbing people to, I guess, fill an emotional hole. Well, I don't care why he's doing it. It's just interesting. And he's scary and creepy looking. And he threw Barry off a building. And like that's all you need, man. The stakes don't have to be the universe every week.
They made Peter Merkel creepy as shit, yo.
Okay, they made him creepy, but like you and I read Gail's Secret Six. That's not my Peter Merkel.
Oh no, I mean no, I mean
but I know they can't.
Well, the other thing too is I mean, if you want Gail's Peter Merkel is kind of like, isn't he kind of like almost reformed a little bit because he can.
Oh, he's not sure he crushes people though. I meant like the gross the triangle woman's clothes stuff.
Oh yeah, no! You can't do that on CW.
Yeah, no, you think about television. I get it.
What? No, right. No. There were certain aspects when they said they were going to do Ragdoll. I was like, oh well.
Yeah, but they were like Peter Merkel, and I was like, word.
I mean, but
I was like, oh really? Like that's how I feel about The Boys.
Well, this is a test case for The Boys right here.
They didn't do any of it, any of the creepy shit, because.
Here's the crazy thing. It's like they didn't do anything. They didn't do any of the super crazy stuff. Like I'm wearing somebody else's face, but they still made him creepy enough though. Like he was still. Yeah,
it was a different kind of creepy. The quiet, like so that's a real contortionist.
I was wondering about that because I was like,
yeah,
it didn't feel like CG, and it felt. I think that would have made it even creepier. It's like it felt real. Some of it was CG. Some of it was CG, but like the vast majority, like him walking on his hands and feet, that's him. He's a contortionist. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like obviously some of the stuff had to be like CG, but I think the creepier parts were the parts where it wasn't.
Yeah, when he crab walks up the stairs to harass Gray, I was like, yo, cut it out, man.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Right. But then it also makes
me enjoying this show anymore.
But then it also makes me go, yeah, I don't really think I want to see Gail Simone's rectal. Real life. Like I think that would be, I don't know, man. I think that would be a little too much, a little too real. Yeah, I don't know. A little too real. That's fair. I don't know about that. I don't know how I'd feel about that one. That's yeah. But again, it's like for this villain, again, it wasn't. And I know some people who don't like those kind of episodes, but I like these episodes where you have a villain who is, the story really isn't about them. They're just a plot device to get other things moving and everything going here. And really, honestly, it's really more about finding a way to get Nora and Iris talking again, so we're not dragging that out. And it worked. And the thing that worked about it is, you outside of the beginning when Nora didn't ask for help, it went and turned off the mic when First of all, never hang up on your mom like that. You can't. Like, I don't care how old you think you are. You can't.
I got nervous.
Yeah, it's like you can't. You can't. You can't do that. You can't do that. Don't do that.
Because eventually you got to call back. Like, did you just hang up on me? I don't know.
Eventually you gotta be in the same room. So it's just I don't know. Kind of can't do that. But outside of that, you got to remember they didn't have another. They didn't talk. They didn't have scenes together outside that one time. But yet and still, they still move forward in the plot line, the plot device of the story of getting both of them to an understanding without having them in the room until the very, very end. And so I thought that was a great way of doing that. I mean, sometimes it could fall flat, but in this case, I think because it also elevated Cecile, I think it really worked out really well. And then again, it really relied heavily on the fact that Barry and Iris are a great couple, and by relying on those two things, I think that worked out really, really well. So, and again, like jumping off a building, that's a little too much for me.
Let's talk about the B team.
The B team, which first of all, Ralph and Sherlock are great. Like they're
I didn't expect them to get along this early, but I'm glad they're there.
Well, what they did this season, because normally we have Cisco paired up with Cisco's paired up with Wells, and that's how it would go, right? And it would make sense that just from a story point of view, hey, listen, let's keep it fresh. Let's not have Cisco and Wells together this season, like a lot. Like he's gonna be there sometime, but not like normally. Let's pair up, this Wells with Ralph since they're both detectives. Have them going off, and then let's go back and really hammer home this friendship between Cisco and Caitlin. And that talk that Caitlin has with Cisco is great. Like the whole because you're watching as Cisco is vibing the first two times, going, "Hey, dude, something's wrong," and you're seeing purposely that nobody else is really noticing it.
Right.
And then when he passes out, and then when Caitlin goes, it's like, yo, why would you do that? If you had told, I would never ask you to do that if I knew it was seriously causing you kind of pain. And he's just like, but I wanted to help my friend, And you see, you got to remember that, again, call back to the beginning of the first season. Cisco and Caitlin have always been there. Cisco and Caitlin have always been friends. They were there working for Wells at Star Labs. So they've always, that's who they are. And so it would make sense that Cisco would want to help his friend. And especially at this point, Cisco's at a vulnerable time. He's lost HR, Wells has left, Gypsy broke up with him. Now he's kind of lost his powers. I mean, he has his powers, but he's injured, and we can kind of get into that a little bit later. So right now he's feeling kind of down. He's feeling kind of vulnerable right now, and having that need to be able to help his friend, and not being able to help his friend when she needs him, you can see how that would affect Cisco. And so I really, really, really like how they did that with those two this episode.
Well, especially with Cisco, he's gone from lad geek to hero, and I can imagine being insanely hard to step back.
Well, he says it. He's like when I first got the vibe powers, they were like it was a curse, seeing again, callback, seeing Wells kill me over and over again,
Yeah.
So yeah, you're absolutely right that he's kind of almost taking a step back now in that, and I mean they get him back this episode, but like he also doesn't even have his satellites, so it's like everything that he could do is kind of like he's struggling to find his place on the team.
But I like that at the end of the episode, they didn't make this a 4-episode arc. He kind of refound his mojo. He's like, oh, I'm the tech guy still. And they come up with great fucking names. Ragdoll still got it.
Right. Like you said, not dragging things out, I think is the thing. It's the new move to make. I mean, it's something that...
It sounds a little cheesy, but they made the Flash move fast, and it works.
Well, you know what it is? It's one of the small aspects of things that I think people, when they say that, oh, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. got good after the collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's like, no, it was taking its time, and they realized that dragging things out in this day and age might not work for the viewer. It's something you could do it back in the day, but TV's changed. People are more used to binging. So if you're going to do over 13 episodes, then you have to, keep these storylines moving. You can't drag out storylines over and over, for too long. I mean, think about it.
I think you can drag out storylines, but I think specifically you're talking about character development.
There you go, character development. That's more of a specific thing because like people are like, all right, we get it. We've seen, especially at the same time, like we've seen it before. We understand what the tropes are and what's going on here. So let's keep it moving. We know how this is. You don't have to drag it out for us. And yeah, I think that's what they're doing this season, and they're working out. Because then, like I said, going back to the idea of them, not dragging out character development, but kind of dragging out things. Obviously, if you said the promo for next episode, we're kind of going to get the next step into this Killer Frost thing with Caitlin and her father. But that's been 6 episodes right there. That's actually not bad and pretty good. But the development of the character they've been doing along the lines of that hasn't been dragged out, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and you say, I mean, I don't think it's been dragged out because each episode they've addressed it and moved it forward.
Oh,
and
absolutely. Well, I mean, when I talk about the Caitlyn her father thing, because technically they dropped the hints of those last season,
right.
and they never went anywhere with it. This season, like, we're definitely making a part of this. We're gonna do it, and I feel confident in the things that they're doing this season that they're not gonna start something and then drop it later on. They're gonna finish what they start. So.
Oh, 100%. I think that the telegraphing of starting it last year was smart, and it was one of those reasons you and I walked out of the season saying they've clearly got something planned for lots of these characters and going forward. So let's see where it goes. Because they ended with Cisco dumped and Caitlin trying to find her powers, and they started like the next day.
Yeah,
that's how the season started. So.
And I gotta say, I'm interested in this. I think it makes Caitlin interesting. They're giving her things to do because she's back to being, people always forget she's the medical person on the team, so she has the medical. But this idea of, who her father is, what her father did, and what her mom did, and black sites, what the fuck, it becomes an interesting. It makes her character interesting, and then like you said, it also then gives your 2 detectives on the team, something to do. It gives Sherlock and Ralph. I'm doing. I love the idea of them trying to just the beginning of this two, and it's they have 2 mysteries. One is Cicada, and the other one is Caitlin's father, and they're kind of working on both at the same time because we mentioned before they didn't really do anything with Cicada wasn't in this episode, but the idea that the particles from his blade are in Cisco's skin, are in his blood, which is making him have trouble vibing and is hurting him. And in 2, at the beginning of the episode, it's when Sherlock has the map and he's trying to narrow down where the satellite pieces fell, and that would allow them to narrow down who it could have possibly be, who Cicada is. So, like, even though they didn't have him in the episode, they still made sure to drop small little things, little throwaway lines to make sure that, hey, listen, he's still an issue. We're still looking into this. It's an actively worked on issue, which, again, that's all you ask for. That's all you can ask for.
That's all you can ask for.
And the satellites are back. Cisco all of a sudden remembered that they have 4 other satellites that DeVoe threw up there to get the big one up there, and so now we can.
I'm not saying Cisco's powers made him dumb, but let's have a conversation.
Well, you know what?
You just realized there's 4 more up there?
Right. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of the things I was like, well, you just realized? I was like, okay. But I will say this: I think that not having the satellites up there, I think it made the team stronger because I think even this,
yeah.
Well, because they even kind of hinted at it that using the satellites kind of was a crutch for them. And here, what you've had through the first 5 episodes of them having to go back to the basics of, using their skill set and the skill sets that are on the teams. From Iris being an investigative reporter, Barry being in forensics. I mean, the whole thing with him figuring out who Ragdoll was as Peter Merkel by, the fingerprints and how the fingerprints were laying flat and he had to kind of raise them up in the model. Cisco having to use his tech smarts because he doesn't have his powers. Like, again, that's the other thing too about taking away Cisco's powers now. okay, if Cisco can't vibe things, how do you figure out how do you break things down? How do you
Well, I think that's why they brought back the satellites because the vibing's gone.
exactly? And so I I think that these are decisions that I think will be pretty good for the show and have been working so far, and I've really enjoyed.
Oh, me too. This has been a really good revival season for them, and I think that I'm not here to rank CW TV shows, but this was far out of the top rankings last year, and I think you got to make a great case for it to be reclaiming that spot at the top or at least near it because the next show we review is, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, I've really enjoyed what they're doing with this last season. And really given all the all the characters, their moments, and and we almost forgot, Ralph finding a way to get Iris to the top of the roof. I saw it in the comic book once. You assholes.
Okay, look, that's some Stan Lee shit right there, man. I'm sorry. That was
it was so good.
That was some he did the shot from Spider-Man PS4 when the web comes out in the spiral.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
he did that shit with his arm.
Yeah, he did. And I was just like, oh God, that's so good. That's so good.
So good.
Yo, Ralph Hive guys still here.
Ralph Hive. Doors are closing though. Please watch your hands. Doors are closing. Get on board or wait to the next train.
So, yeah. You got anything else you want to say about this episode? Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I think they've been doing a great job.
Oh, I've nothing more to add. This is one of those things where there are certain times, certain shows where reviewing them can be kind of a slog. This ain't that.
No. Last year it felt that way sometimes. This year, nope. I'm enjoying every episode. And
high consistency, man.
You know what it is? It also feels like the cast is having fun.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they're having fun, and I think this plays into when we talked about Legend of Tomorrow. That cast is definitely having fun. So.
That cast might be drunk all the time.
We'll talk about this on the
I'm not convinced there are scripts.
I don't think that the Charlie Roy conversation. I think they were really drinking. Like they actually had liquor in that one. So, yeah, folks. That's our review for The Flash season 5. I think it's episode 5, all dolled up. Stay tuned. Super Tuesday recap. I don't know what the holiday schedule. They have an episode next week, I believe. So we'll be back. We'll be recording that.
I know Flash does.
Yeah. So we'll be recording next week. What else was I going to say? Oh, so on the Character Corner feed, we will be talking. We already put our Ultimate Spider-Man episode up, and we do have Doom Patrol coming this weekend. But we're also going to throw a bonus episode in to talk about Stan Lee. We're going to do that right after we record all this stuff. So make sure to subscribe to the account, to the Character Corner to hear us talk. Who knows how long that episode is going to go, but we're just going to talk about our feelings about Stan Lee.
Hey, before we get out of here, everyone, if you have questions about genre things, comic book movies, make sure you email us for the mailbag. It's going to be running the last Wednesday of the month. We usually only remind you guys the week before, so I figure let's get in front of it now.
That is smart. Thank you very much for doing that. It's a good idea. That's a good idea. It's a good idea. We should probably. So yeah. So with that, also keep an eye. I've been doing a better job of weekly asking people what they're reading in comic books. So hopefully, I'll be also keeping myself to that as well. So, all right, folks. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, we're out of here. Peace.